particular panel discussion. And this conference is organized in association with Wisdom University of Applied Sciences, Latvia, Lusafona University, Portugal, People Culture, USA, Luxor University, Egypt, Takoradi Technical University, Ghana, the Engineering and Pedagogical College from Tajikistan, University of Birjan, Iran, College of Tourism and Service of Andijan, Uzbekistan, Maulana Azad National Urdu University, Hyderabad, Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University, Hyderabad. Before I introduce the topic and speakers, I would like to give a brief about the institute. NITIM, National Institute of Tourism and Hospitality Management, is jointly promoted by the Government of India and the Government of Telangana in Hyderabad in the year 2004. Institute endeavors for holistic development of all related sectors coming under the tourism and hospitality through the provision of education, training, research, and consultancy services. NITHM offers master and bachelor level management programs and diploma and certificate programs. This is a third conference that we are organizing on the theme of tourism, hospitality, and sustainable development goals. The conference is supported by all the partner universities, and the aim of the conference is to provide a platform to a wide range of scholars, policymakers, practitioners, and other tourism stakeholders to discuss, debate, and deliberate on the role, issues, and challenges of achieving sustainable development goals through tourism and hospitality. Approaches and practices of sustainable development goals in tourism and hospitality and related fields, and make it more responsible and visible to the public. This will help the researchers across the field to come together and exchange research and innovative ideas among the academic community and practicing entrepreneurs. You all know that research plays very major role in order to understand and achieve the global sustainable development goals, in which the tourism is considered as one of the important tool. In this regard, it is important that India, being one of the largest country with a diverse tourism resources, plays immense role in order to achieve the global sustainable development goals. In doing so, it is important to understand the research contribution and the issues and the challenges involved to achieve these goals. I would like to share a brief background about the rationale behind having this particular panel discussion. Yes, if you look at the global, the yearly progress of the research on tourism and hospitality related areas in India, there is a significant growth, particularly from the year 2000 onwards. And we have experiencing that, particularly in the last decade, immensely. And if you look at particularly the countrywide contribution or the global contribution, India is among the top 10 list. In fact, we are at the 10th position in terms of contributing. Oh, I'm sorry, the slides are not visible. Just give me a moment. Visible? Okay. I'm sorry. Yes, if you look at the graph, yes, there is a immense growth, particularly from past 2 decades. And particularly if you look at the global contribution from the various countries, yes, we are in the top list. Yes, this provides an opportunity as well as a challenge for us to understand, debate, and discuss in order to contribute to the global sustainable development goals. Particularly if you look at the past 2 decades or 3 decades, yes, it is a positive side that there is an increased awareness and understanding on the research and its contribution to the global sustainable development goals or in general about the sustainability. Particularly, there is an increased number of publications and the focus is also on the global issues. Yes, it is also witnessed that there is an increased collaboration with various researchers and the various universities across the globe. And most importantly, yes, we have been contributing in the leading journals from past 10 to 15 years particularly. Yes, at the same time, it is also important to understand what are the issues and challenges and opportunities that we have in order to contribute to the goal of sustainable development. Particularly, yes, there is a challenge in terms of accessing the data or understanding, or learning the various tools. And also, yes, if you look at the number in the top 10 list, yes, we are there. But at the same time, if you look at the number of universities, the number of departments, or the number of researchers, yes, still we are lagging behind. And it is also important that whether this particular growth, the impact or influence is contributing to the goal of sustainable development. And most importantly, though there is an immense knowledge creation, but it is important whether this particular knowledge is certified or not. Yes, there are so many journals that we have been publishing our findings, and but yes, particularly the peer-reviewed journals. But looking at the global, most certified knowledge like the Scopus Index or the Web of Science or ABDC category journals, still we are lagging behind. At the same time, we have a challenges like publishing the local issues at the global level in the leading journals is also a challenge. At the end, I would like to say that this is an opportunity for us in order to understand and debate and discuss to contribute to the progress of the global sustainable development goals, uh, ultimately to achieve the sustainable development. In doing so, it is important to have a speakers or the panel members who have contributed significantly in the field. In that regard, we have a professors in the tourism and hospitality and related sectors who are contributing immensely to the tourism and hospitality research in the country. Particularly, we have a professor from Jamia Millia Islamia, Professor Nimit Ranjan Chaudhary sir, and we have a Dr. Saurabh Dikshit sir from Northeast Hill University. We have Anil Gupta sir from Jammu University. We have Tony K. Thomas sir from Mahatma Gandhi University, Kerala. We have Vanessa, although she's from Mauritius, but she is well versed with Indian scholars and Indian issues. So before we start the session, I would like to give a brief about the panel members. Professor Nimit Chaudhary is an engineer with MBA and PhD in management. He is also a professor and ex-head of the Department of Tourism and Hospitality Management at Jamia Millia Islamia, a central university located in Delhi. Nodal officer of Indian Institute of Travel and Tourism Management, Noida and Nellore, who has more than 28 years of academic experience. He has been a full professor for 15 years in India, China, and Mexico. He is a recipient of the AACT Career Award for Young Researchers, FIDA Fellowship, Sweden, Guest Scholarship, Sweden, Linnaeus Palm Exchange Program Grants, Sweden, PIMG Research Excellence Award, Scholars Grant, Erasmus Mundus, Europe, among others. Recently, he was chosen for the prestigious LEAP program at Oxford University. He has supervised about 15 PhDs and authored 8 books and edited 5 books and contributed more than 145 papers. He has traveled extensively to around 40 countries. Then we have our next panel member, Dr. Saurabh Dikshit, who is an associate professor and a founding head of the Department of Tourism and Hotel Management at Northeast Hill University, Shillong. His research interests include consumer behavior, gastronomic tourism, and experiential management and marketing in hospitality and tourism context. He has 15 books to his credit, including the Routledge Handbook of Consumer Behavior in Hospitality and Tourism, which was published in the year 2017. Then the Routledge Handbook of Gastronomic Tourism, Routledge Handbook of Tourism Experience Management and Marketing, Tourism in Asian Cities, Tourism in India, Marketing Perspectives, and Consumer Behavior in Tourism. Presently is editing the Routledge Handbook of Wine Tourism and Teaching Cases in Tourism, Hospitality, and Events. He is an editorial member and guest editor of several national and international journals. Tourism recreational such as Tourism Recreational Research, British Food Journal, Journal of Research in Interactive Marketing, Anatolia, Journal of Hospitality, Leisure, Sports, then the Tourism Education, Journal of Food Service Business Research, Qualitative Market Research, and Journal of Global Scholars of Marketing, Science, and etc. Then we have a third speaker, Dr. Anil Gupta, who has published over 40 research papers in leading international and national level journals such as ABGC A category and A star category journals, which includes Journal of Travel Research, International Journal of Information Management, Behavior and Information Technology, Journal of Retailing and Consumer Services, Marketing Intelligence and Planning, International Journal of Bank Marketing, Asia Pacific Journal of Tourism Research, Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Management, Journal of Indian Business Research, published by Emerald, Tourism, published from Croatia, Tourism and Hospitality Management. He has also edited 8 books on tourism management and has undertaken UGC major research projects and was the deputy coordinator for UGC Innovative Program on Composite Culture Management. Dr. Gupta is a Digital Indian Research Initiative Research Fellow with Indian School of Business, Hyderabad, and is also a recipient of Emerald Literary Award for the year 2019 for his research published in Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Technology for the year 2018. He has guided 8 research PhD scholars till date in the area of community-based tourism, tourism and technology, pro-environmental behavior, sharing economy, academic entrepreneurship, sports marketing, strategic planning, and university governance. He was the course coordinator for paper strategic management under EPG Pathashala, and has also contributed as a content writer for course in special interest tourism. In addition to teaching and research, he has served as Assistant Dean of Student Welfare and Institution Innovation Council, and is presently the member of University Business Incubation and Innovation Center, as well as University Entrepreneurship and Skill Development Center that drives the innovation, entrepreneurial initiatives at the University of Jammu. Then we have a next speaker, Dr. Tony K. Thomas, who is the head of the School of Tourism Studies at Mahatma Gandhi University and a former Deputy Dean and Associate Professor of School of Hospitality, Tourism and Events at Taylor's University, Malaysia. He has published research articles in high impact journals in the area of Asian tourism studies, tourist behavior, destination benchmarking. He has a track record of conducting research and consultancy projects from the notable bodies such as World Bank and the European Union. Tony was a member of the consultancy team by part of the Nepal Tourism Rapid Recovery Force He is also the recipient of the Pacific Asia Travel Association's the PATA Face of the Future. Tony is the founder of Asian Tourism Research Conference and founding editor in chief of Asian Tourism Research Journal. Then we have a last speaker, Dr. Vanessa Gauri Sunkar, who is a citizen of Mauritius, and she holds a PhD, which cuts across three disciplines, namely tourism management, communication, and marketing, with over a decade of experience in teaching, training, and research. Vanessa has brought her contribution in various international universities and educational institutions. She is currently serving as associate professor in cultural tourism. Previously, she was assuming the role of head of the Department for Hospitality and Tourism at the University of Africa in Nigeria. Vanessa is an editorial board member of several scientific journals and has a number of publications in Scopus indexed journals. She has been the major editor of several international textbooks and author of number of research articles and book chapters. Her credentials may verify on Google Scholar, LinkedIn, Academia, Arcade, Scopus Network, the African Scientist Directory, ResearchGate, and Web of Science Research in the name of Dr. Vanessa Gauri Sunkar. Vanessa has been conferred various awards for her contribution in research and women empowerment in Mauritius, India, and Africa. She is an elected member of ICAMUS, the International Cultural Tourism Committee, and a specialist member of the World Commission on Protected Areas and Tourism and protected areas under the International Union for the Conservation of the Nature. This is a brief about Dr. Vanessa Gayatri Gauri Sunkar. So with this, I would like to hand over the session to Dr. Vanessa Gauri Sunkar to continue further as a moderator.
So thank you, Dr. Mahendra Reddy. This was such a generous introduction. Anyway, thank you for inviting me as moderator for the third Joint International Conference on Tourism, Hospitality and Sustainable Development Goals. In fact, it's a honor and privilege to be in this session, especially to be among 4 tourism celebrities. I would call them the Badshah of tourism in India: Professor Nimit Chaudhary, Professor Saurabh Dixit, Professor Anil Gupta, Professor Tony Thomas, all of them professors. Okay, no problem. So what I'm saying is that today we have a very special session. And this session is about trying to understand the state of Indian tourism and hospitality research in the global platform, and to also understand the issues and challenges and opportunities involved in publishing in top-tier journals from the leading authors, researchers of India, from leading, even not leading also, emerging authors, researchers from India. So how we are going to proceed, let me explain very quickly. Just now, I will have a very brief introduction of 10 minutes. Then after that, after my introduction, a kind of setting the context, I will leave the floor to Professor Nimit Chaudhary. Probably he will have his own perspective for around 7 minutes. And then Dr. Saurabh Dixit for around 7 minutes, and then Dr. Anil Gupta for around 7 minutes, Dr. Tony Thomas for around 7 minutes. And then after that, we'll try to summarize. I will be summarizing for around 10-15 minutes, and then we will open the session for question and answers for around 10 minutes. So it's a session of around 35-40 minutes. So without taking too much of your time, let me set the context. So although the number of Indian research journals has spiraled to over 21,000 in 10 years, this is a statistics which I got from a journal, they are sadly not making a mark globally. I think partly touched by Dr. Mahendra Reddy, that in an editorial by someone called Lakhotia in 2018 rather, the editorial was entitled, Why are Indian research journals not making a mark? The enemy is within. So this is something quite very strong. It's a strong statement. The enemy is within. What does this mean? So he states that if established scientists in the country, I mean India, do not wish to publish even some of their research output in Indian journals, do not wish to seriously review manuscript for these journals, and more importantly, directly or indirectly penalize, irrespective of the quality of work, those who publish in them, these journals will continue to struggle and fail to become internationally competitive. Thus, we are the enemy of established research journals published in India. So this is a statement from Lakhotia 2018. Well, we are in 2022 now, maybe things have changed. But somehow, I am also a reviewer of several international journals. Sometimes when we have papers from India, it's a bit different. Sometimes people have the tendency to look down about those papers. They want you to double review it again. Can you check the language? Can you check the content? Can you make sure that this and that? So it is sometimes somehow true. Well, I cannot say 100%. So it is also true that trying to publish a paper in a top-rated, peer-reviewed journal can be a difficult and frustrating experience for authors. I'm sure that most of us who have been through that, but now that we are a bit more mature, those who are coming, they will be facing more challenges because there are so many new things, emerging things coming up. So most editors of journals would agree that the rejection rate for papers from developing countries is higher than those from developed countries. And the reasons for this disparity are not clear, but may relate to the fact that most top-tier journals are written in English. And this may be problematic for some authors who use English as a second language. And my own experience is that it is indeed somehow true that when I review sometimes papers from India, the language, the English, is somewhat different. But it doesn't mean that it's not good English. The academic is a bit different. So editors of such journals often receive complaints from authors expressing concerns about the peer review process, especially the quality of the reviews. And many authors wonder why the rejection rate varies so much across journals. For example, in some journals, rejection is the norm. You can see current issues in tourism, Journal of Destination Marketing and Management, Annals. I will give an example. The acceptance rate for Annal of Tourism Research is only 10%. Whereas for other journals, it might be as high as 15%. It's a great disparity. And also publishing scientific information is clearly important to researchers in academia, for government people, and even for the industry. And sometimes it's for their careers. It's also very dependent. We are also very dependent on the type of paper journals we are choosing to place our research articles. So many scientists, they have little difficulty designing and conducting experiments, but they tend not to be able to be as successful in getting their work published in a highly rated peer-reviewed journal. Now we have the journal impact factor, which is also an important metric. We try to have a look at impact factor. What is the impact factor of that journal? And even when you're working in a university, especially in India, in any other place anyway, they would say, oh, you're publishing a paper, fine. Which journal and what is the impact factor? And sometimes we have a tendency to say that, oh, no, it's from an international journal, as if the paper is being published in India, it's not going to be a good one. We take pride to say, no, it's from UK, no, it's from the other place. Why? Why should this happen? It should not happen. But why it is happening, we are going to discuss in a while. Anyway, impact factor, for those who might not be aware, especially we have got an audience of young people, impact factor is a measure of the number of times an average paper in a journal is cited during a year. And impact factors are used to measure the importance of a journal by calculating the number of times selected articles are cited within a particular year. So impact factor is quite important. We also have Clarivate analytics. they release the journal impact factors annually as part of the Web of Science journal citation report. So there are various ways of checking the impact factor of journals. And we have also got Mendeley. And with time, we have got so many platforms which have emerged, like you have to be Scopus Index, you have got the ORCID, we have got also issues related to predatory journals. So while still in the same process of discussing about those things, I would probably invite Professor Chaudhry to have his perspective on this point. So I give you the space, Professor Chaudhry.
Thank you, Vanessa. And first and foremost, let me place on record my appreciation for Nidham Mahendra for allowing me this opportunity to be in the company of my very good friends and some very accomplished researchers. To set the ball rolling, let me quickly comment bulleted on two issues. One is positioning of tourism research in India, and second is about the research culture. I'll take them up one by one. So first, the positioning of research, and let us understand the context. Vanessa has pointed out, Mahinder with some data pointed it out, tourism research in India still should be and can be considered in its nascent stages. We did not really have a research culture in India, but I'll talk about it later. We also need to understand the tourism industry around the world, and more so in India, is largely unorganized. These are small businesses, so they do not have the might to invest in research, not even market research, leave alone the academic research. Then another important player is the destination leadership. Unfortunately, the destination leadership in India does not care for research. There are some reasons to be apportioned to it, but we'll get back to them later. The next thing is that because of this kind of a situation, academic research in India is devoid of context, or don't say devoid of context, it is independent of context, which means we actually are unable to relate our research to what is happening on the ground in India, and therefore most of the researchers, are after issues and themes which are global in nature. Whatever is led by global researchers, we or most of the researchers here in India also start, following them, researching those issues. So these are four quick points about positioning of research in India. Then let me make just 2 or 3 quick points about the culture of research in India. Quality of research in India had been a concern, and it is only very recent, say for example, in around 2016 when we had this UGC care thing, and when we linked quality of publication with promotional avenues, that research in India in general has started rolling, and so also in tourism. But then at the same time, during last 6-7 years, 2016 to 2020, between 2016 and 2022, minus those around 2 years of that we lost in COVID, there has been an impressive gains insofar research in tourism is concerned. I'm very happy to share with you that with this audience that the younger researchers in India have taken a lead. They've started publishing again, which is reflected in the data that is shared by Vanessa and Mahinder. And one example of research being led from all parts of India is this panel. So North India, you have some good researchers like Anil and young researchers associated with them. East, you have Saurabh. South, you have Tony. And West, which was like somewhat empty. So Vanessa comes to Gujarat to take care of that. So all over the country, you have a very good quality research. When I say good quality, it is with reference to what we had been doing prior to 2016. I often get this opportunity to interact with younger researchers, different for us. So I'm pretty satisfied with it. But when I make this comment, I must also admonish this group. One of the challenges, because there's more research, more publication, a lot of people, you come across a good number of people with very impressive research, at least parameters. One of the challenges or one of the things which troubles me is that a lot of this research is minus wisdom. When I say minus wisdom, my concern is that it does not relate to what is happening around us. So a good number of publications, people have mastered that art of getting your writings published in good journals, but how much do they relate to the context, or how much do they benefit the industry or the tourism ecosystem in India is what is to be seen. And this takes us back to a comment that I made earlier, the destination leadership, because it doesn't find this research good enough or helping them, they have kind of lost interest in this research. So this is a catch-22 kind of a situation. And I believe that this panel will deliberate on this, and maybe we'll discuss this and have some ideas and some ways forward. So that's all from my end to begin with. Over to you, Anand.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nimit. I think that these are very strong points that you have proposed, you have put forward. And I am with you in that, especially in terms of that point when you say where sometimes when they are interested to publish, it's important to publish because probably of promotion or probably because of pressure from the university. And then they will just get anything and publish it, but they are not able to contextualize, to relate it to the actual thing. I'm sure that Saurabh will have something to say about it, especially that yesterday, let me tell you something. Yesterday, I was thinking, this is a side story. I was thinking that I was supposed to introduce the panel. So I said I will have to, I know Nimit already, Saurabh already, the others. So I was having a look, let me see what I can say about Saurabh. Oh my God, 20 pages on Google, on Saurabh only. I said, oh my God, let me stop. So this leads me to say that I think Saurabh is the right person to discuss a bit what Nimit has just said. He has got lots of experience, and I'm sure that he has got so many encounters about this. So please, Saurabh, can you just enlighten us a bit more on what Nimit has just said?
Thank you very much, Vanessa. I hope I'm audible enough to all of you.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Dr. Vanessa, for your kind introduction. And I'm also very, very grateful to Mahendraji for inviting me to this platform. Greetings to all the panel members and all the participants. So as I'm asked to share my views on the state of tourism research. So whatever I'm trying to share here, so basically I'm trying to give you a brief idea about how the hospitality research is moving ahead in this part of time. So basically, if we see the hospitality is quite broad and vibrant kind of area of research, and it encompasses a varied kind of disciplines and topics of study. And to undertake the hospitality research, it requires different kind of competencies and approach. So far, if we see the Indian research in hospitality, though it is growing satisfactorily, but still there are certain challenges that as a researcher we need to overcome. So here I would like to enlist some of the challenges that the hospitality researchers are facing in today's global context. So the foremost challenge that Professor Nimit has already outlined, basically the problem is with the linkage between industry and academia. So basically whatever research we are doing, so that research should be matching with the requirement of the industry. If the Hospitality Educational Institute, if the researchers who are doing research in the hospitality, if they are going to match the requirement of the industry, then somehow the industry will be benefited from the research outcomes that will be coming in the form of the research outputs of the researchers. So that is very, very like that is lacking in the part of the researcher, and that kind of hindrance is because of several reasons. Like the students who are doing research, who are going to be the potential researcher at later stage, they are not given that kind of knowledge at the time of their study. They are not given idea of critical thinking skills, emotional intelligence. So when they will be completing the research, so they may not be having that kind of idea. So how to do the research, what kind of outcome we are supposed to give for the industry. So that kind of thing is like lacking in the teaching that we are giving to our students. So if we are undertaking the hospitality teaching to our students, so basically we need to give the some kind of idea to the students with the help of some kind of live case studies. So that the students will be able to have some kind of experiential learning. So we should also have some kind of like introduction of some kind of new technology in our teaching. So that kind of thing is required to give the orientation to the researchers, so that they will be able to produce whatever is required by the industry. So that is one problem that the hospitality research in India that is lacking. Another important thing is that like since the hospitality and tourism is considered to be the interdisciplinary kind of research area, so it's always whenever we see the global publications, so there are like collaborative kind of research is going on everywhere. So, but in case of India, so what we used to see, we used to that kind of thing is not, we are not able to find that kind of collaboration. So since we all know that like everybody is not perfect in each and every arena, so in order to produce quality work, in order to produce quality kind of output, it's always like necessary to have the expertise from different individuals. So if we are able to have some kind of global collaborations, maybe from different countries, different states, different people of even the people of different background may also be invited to undertake the research. So if we are able to do that kind of exercise, so that may lead to good quality of publication for the Indian researchers also. Another very important thing that I used to highlight whenever this kind of discussion happens, that is the lack of access and awareness of the quality publications. Indian researchers somehow like if we interact with them, so they are not aware about the quality publications. What is the quality? How like what kind of journals are considered to be the quality journals? So as Vanessa has already pointed out, there are several index where the journals are usually indexed. There are several criteria, but that kind of information is somehow lacking. So that is basically the problem from the part of the mentoring. As a teacher, we are also responsible somehow for that thing. So basically that kind of thing is also happening. And another very important thing that is like that is prevalent in Indian academia, that is the lack of access. Since we are belonging to the developing country, so like, and most of the good journals, they are like usually subscribed at very high rates. They are so that requires like huge amount of money. So all the institutions, they are not able to afford those journals. Subscription is usually not affordable by many institutions. So that problem is also happening in many like institutions. So that's why if we are not able to have the access of good quality journal, so if we are not having that access, so it's very difficult for us to produce quality publications. So in order to match, in order to bridge that gap, there are other ways also, like as Vanessa has pointed out, there are many journals which are offering the kind of reviews. So in exchange of reviews, many publishers, many good publishers, they used to offer access to the reviewers. But for that also, reviews are usually assigned to the individuals who are having expertise of that area. So it is not like it is not given to a new person, to a person who is not having the idea of that particular discipline. So, but getting reviews and undertaking reviews also give some kind of opportunity to have the access of different quality publications. So that is also one challenge that the Indians are actually coming across. And one more thing that I would like to highlight here that may be considered as a challenge for the Indian academia and Indian researcher. Basically, what is happening, the recognition is not given for the people who are having the quality publications. So basically, now in India, what we are seeing, the number is more important. instead of the quality of publication. If a person is publishing many papers, if the person is publishing many more number of books, then he will be given more recognition instead of the people are, since they are not aware about the quality, then because of that they are not considering the person's quality work. So that is also creating problems. So that's why Indian research somehow is lacking. So we need to address these challenges. Somehow we need to understand the problems that the Indians are facing because of these issues. So if we are able to understand those things, then we'll be able to overcome them also. This is all about from my end. So thank you very much for the opportunity once again.
Thank you so much, Saurabh, for highlighting those very, very important and pertinent points. In fact, this is really very true that whatever we are doing, just like we started, just like Amit has already highlighted, it's very important to, for example, to have a match to make sure that whatever we are doing is in line with the industry. Sorry because of the background noise. So it's very important to be in line with what the industry is looking for. I will give an example, again, another side story. I think a few weeks ago, I was trying to contact NIMIT because I was given a task to develop a master's program. But being not from India, I was developing a program for India, for people of India. So it's very important to have advice, and I'm sure that Nimit will agree with me. I talked to him, and he also advised me the same point as Saurabh, that make sure that whatever you're doing, it's in line with the industry, it's in line with UGC, it's in line with so many things. All those points that you have pointed out, and also I think that there's also another very important point that I should also mention. Sometimes people, not sometimes, many times I have seen my observation as well, that quantity versus quality. We are more interested to have many publications. It should look on the CV, when you look at the CV, it should be 1 or 2 pages of publication. Whatever publication, doesn't mind, but we should see that publication. But the quality is not here. Probably, as you rightly pointed out, it's due to lack of awareness, lack of access to expensive subscription of good journals. And then something, I have noted all the points. Yeah. So I think that while we are discussing all those things, I was thinking in terms of the role of UGC and the role of Tourism and Hospitality Skill Council. Recently, I encountered some person from the Tourism and Hospitality Skill Council. I feel that they are also very much concerned with quality of research. I don't know, I'm not so sure because I'm not from this place. Probably they can be having a role in terms of how to boost or how to promote quality publications. But I'm sure that whatever we are talking, Dr. Anil Gupta will have something to say from his own experience, being from quite a different, but not different background, I would say from a different perspective probably. So let me invite him. Sorry, I have not been able to explore a bit more about Dr. Anil Gupta. All that I know, I have to say congratulations to him because he has just got a promotion. So this is a very huge thing already. So congratulations again, Dr. Anil Gupta. So let me give you the platform so that you can add your points to whatever Saurabh and Nimit have highlighted.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Vanessa. Thank you so much. And let me first, thank Dr. Mahendra Reddy for inviting me to this eminent panelist. We have very, very senior people like Professor Nemeth, whom, we really look up to in terms of the way he has been, one of the torch bearers as far as the tourism education is concerned. Dr. Saurabh, we already know, he's, as you rightly said, Vanessa, in the beginning, he's definitely one of the badshahs as far as the publication of tourism area is concerned. I would like to make a quick 10 points, which I thought, and some of them have already been, highlighted by the eminent panelists before. I would like to share I've made a short presentation. If I see I can share it or not. Just a second. Yeah, so is the screen visible? Just a second, I think it's sharing.
Yeah, it's visible.
Yeah. So, we are celebrating the 75th year of the independence. So, of course, last 2 years have really given a fillip in terms of connecting people from across the borders within the country where, such kind of deliberations can take place. So while I was just thinking about what should I really highlight upon, some of the points have been already addressed. My primarily, I understand there are a lot of young students and scholars which are going to become prospective researchers in times to come. So I thought that I'll highlight few important points which I'm sure will really help not only the students but also the other academicians which are here in the audience today. I perfectly like this quote: put the philosophy back into the doctorate of philosophy. I think this is the need of the hour as far as the Indian research is concerned. Unfortunately, what I have been witnessing for almost last 1 decade is that a lot of students come into the PhD program just to earn the degree, right? So it has just become one of the degrees, and they just find out shortcuts that how do we complete or just bind our thesis and submit it. So my advice to all the young scholars which are listening to me, just be very cautious, be very careful. If you are making a choice of entering into academics, you have to take it very seriously. And unless and until this happens, I don't think the quality of research and the impact of research that is originating from India will really make a difference. It's a full-time profession, it's a full-time job, and one has to really take it very seriously. I strongly believe that, and this is my approach as far as the research is concerned, it's about training the PhD scholars, PhD students to be thinkers and not just the specialists. And I see that how Professor Nemeth also, trains and educate the scholars. They have to, become independent researchers. They have to learn this art of thinking. And unfortunately, many of our education, the education that happens in India, we are only trained to write, we are only trained to read, we are only trained to, speak. But how to think? That is something, I find that a lot of these students, after completing the master's program, when they join the PhD program, they take at least 6 to 8 months to adjust with myself, because I keep on forcing them to think.
Anil sir,
And what I see is that as the time progresses, once they learn the art of thinking, automatically they are in a position to come up with ideas which have a potential to, contribute to the academic body of knowledge. In fact, I would like to make a reference here. I started my academic career from Hyderabad. I started when I left my corporate job way back in 2002. I joined ICFI Business School, and my professor, who basically, gave me a lot of very interesting insights. In fact, his name was also Professor J. Mahendra Reddy. So he is now the Vice Chancellor at ICFI Business School. So just on a lighter note. The second point, which I think is very important, is, as Dr. Saurabh was also saying, Professor Nemeth also said, somewhere, the tourism researchers, they, somewhere try to remain in their own silos. And somewhere they start feeling threatened. For example, if somebody who is not from a tourism background starts talking about tourism, and they get a feeling, he doesn't have a master's degree in tourism, or he's not a PhD in tourism. How come, he is coming and talking about tourism? I think this is something, which is actually not required. If we want the quality of research to improve as far as the tourism research from India is coming, as Dr. Saurabh was also talking about, we need to talk to people in other disciplines. We need to read and understand what is happening in the area of sociology, what is happening in the area of psychology. Pardon?
Slides are advancing, sir.
They're not advancing?
Yes, sir.
Just a second. Let me. Just a second, please. Is it better now? Is it better now?
Yes, it's much better. Yes.
Okay, okay. Can you see it now? Fine. So this is what I'm trying to say, that we need to, break down these silos. We just can't remain in isolation that, okay, I am a tourism guy, he's not a tourism guy. Frankly, this kind of approach will not really help the tourism research as far as the research originating from India is concerned. And normally, what happened, I normally talk of this, the tunnel vision syndrome. When I just look at look at a phenomena just from my own perspective, I just can't have a clear picture of the entire phenomena that I'm going to actually study. So therefore, that is very important. We need to break the silos. We need to come out of that mindset. We need to talk to people. We need to be more receptive. We need to be more confident about our own self. Yes, we can also contribute, right? We can probably be better than what maybe people in the related disciplines are just talking about, right? So that silo mentality has to, really break. And once that happens, we'll see that a lot of interesting ideas will pitch in. A lot of interesting themes will really come out, which will really have the potential not only to, get published. One very important thing for all the academicians in our domain has to understand is, it's not that the tourism research is only getting published as far as the tourism journals are concerned. If you actually browse through the various management journals, you will find that the number of papers pertaining to tourism and hospitality which are getting published is slowly and gradually increasing. The research that is coming out from various IIMs in India in the area of domain of tourism and hospitality is increasing, right? So ultimately what will happen is that we will find that these people will, come and be more powerful, more impactful as compared to, people, those who are only purely coming from the tourism background. So that is something which I wanted to highlight. The third point is, and I really appreciate, and I keep on reading the articles that, Professor Nimitz keep on writing. We know that the content is king, but the context is God, right? And we are, as researchers, as young students, I find that they are away from the context. And my advice to many of my scholars remain, and I know that Nimitz sir also approaches the research problems in that way, is just to observe what is happening around you, right? I tell my scholars, just observe what is happening on Twitter, what is happening on, Instagram. Just observe what is happening around you. And the research problem will actually come from there. I really don't have to read thousands of papers, though reading papers are very important. But first, you need to understand what's happening around you. Because once you look at the phenomena that is of interest and then relate it with the academics, you will find that, yes, you ultimately get an idea. And once that idea clicks you will find that you will be in a position to shape it up. That academic acumen, the academic competence, there is no substitute for that. But an idea has to be saleable to the top journals. That idea has to be, and the context, the Indian context is so unique. Indian context is so unique that I feel that, as researchers, we are yet to explore that. We are still looking towards the West. We are just picking up the issues or the theoretical frameworks which are coming from the West and just, trying to replicate it. I'm sure, as Nimitz sir was saying, that a lot of these young scholars have a very, very sharp acumen. And very soon we'll find that quality inputs will be coming from them. So it has to be, context embedded. Any research which is away from the context, as Dr. Dixit was also saying, that why is the industry reading my research? No. Are the policy makers interested in my research? The answer is no. Do I have the, approaches to find answers to their concerns? If I'm not talking to them, I'm not close to them, they are talking something else, we are talking something else, of course we'll be able to publish, but that gap is very high. That needs to be subsequently reduced. The fourth point which I want to emphasize here is, he is my favorite chef. I love, cooking. So I don't know how many of you recognize this. His name is Chef Ranveer Barar. So now these, just a second. These chefs, they know the art of how to, convert the ingredients into a wonderful, piece. And how do they do it, right? Many a times, what I find is many of these scholars over here are just stuck with the tools. It's not the tool that makes the, tasty, sumptuous dish. It is the chef. He understands that how to, combine everything, all those ingredients. The process that happens goes on the mind of the chef is something that really makes the difference. And what I find is many scholars come that if I learn SPSS or if I am able to create such models, I have understood the research. I don't say that understanding research methods and technique is not important. That is very important, but that is not sufficient condition for you to, come up with a quality publication. It's not that if you have, used smart PLS, you have applied, created a model and come up with a beautiful findings. It's not that. As many of the young researchers should know that 95% of the research papers in top journal, the editor will only, reject just after reading the introduction. They will not even be interested in what kind of methods that you have applied. If you are able to take the, editor or the reviewer beyond introduction, where the essence of your work lies, there is a high probability for you to, click onto the quality journals. Right. Next point, which I think is very important, is that we need to blend theory and practice. I feel that many of times the researchers in India really do not understand and appreciate the value of the theoretical frameworks, which are very important. So, looking at a problem from a theoretical perspective, I think is something where many of the young Indian researchers are not being trained properly. It's not their fault. I always say that it's not the fault. They are there to learn. As Dr. Dixit was also saying, the problem somewhere also lies with us. Are we ready to unlearn what we have learned as probably when we did our PhD? When I go and see my own thesis, I don't feel like seeing it. But have I really improved? Have I graduated from the level which I ended? I see many a times what supervisors will do is just replicate, what is already there. So we need to, really break that mindset and start thinking something new. So many times scholars don't understand what is the difference between a conceptual framework, a theory, or a model. So everything, needs to be really sorted out. We don't have enough time to go into all this, maybe sometime later. This point, I think, has already been covered. So if, I think both are important. Quality and quantity, both are important. But as you progress in your career, so quality is very important, right? One of my scholars who is now almost into the third year, I really pushed her too hard. So her first publication was submitted to a category journal, and I knew that she will face rejection, right? I knew she will face rejection, but that rejection has really helped her to learn a lot. And I'm sure probably in a year's time or 1.5 years' time, she will be in an auto mode where she will be in a position to, understand that what is that the reviewers in a top quality journal expects, and try to cope up to that particular level. So quality definitely makes a difference. In fact, if I am here today talking to all of you, it's just because of the paper which I recently got published in Journal of Travel Research. It took almost 2.5 years to reach to or crack this journal. As Dr. Vanessa was also saying, language is a problem for us. There are a number of issues that Indians face. But then subsequently, if you are able to hit some quality journals, you'll find that automatically a lot of things come into that place. And you have to make this as a habit right from beginning. My 7th point, which I want to quickly touch upon is, I think I've missed on certain points. So 7th point, which I want to lay emphasis is that, the concept of academic entrepreneurship. One of my scholars, she did a PhD in this domain of academic entrepreneurship, where, the point is that we need to, be close to the industry. We need to we all know that in India, one of the major problems is how do we get funds? We don't have access to funds. Dr. Dixit was talking of access to, quality work. But I think one of the major problem is we don't have money to do research. There are very limited agencies which fund people in the area of management and tourism. So where do we get money from? The money will only come if, we are able to, convince the industry or the policy makers that we are here, you have certain problems, we have the research acumen, we have the credibility of, publishing good work. If you trust us, because there is somewhere, I think there is a trust deficit between industry thinks that academia is different. Policy makers think that, okay, teachers, they just come up with the substandard work or something of that sort. So if you are able to, bridge this trust deficit, I think the funds will start flowing in. And once the funds start flowing in, you will find that quality research will automatically come. So for that, again, it's the chicken and egg story. What will come first? Whether the funds will come first or your credibility will come first. My last point, and I'll close after this, is what is very important is that as Indian researchers, we have a collective responsibility at the global level where we ensure that we only submit, decent quality work. We need to discuss, debate among ourselves. I have been talking to a few of the young researchers, and I find that, because of some few people adopting unethical practices, just, falsifying the data, or, just adopting malpractices which are there in academic research, the entire community gets painted like that. I agree with Dr. Vanessa. It's very difficult to, get through. If all the authors are of Indian origin, I find it's very difficult to, convince the editors, convince the reviewers that your work is really good. But for that, all of us have a collective responsibility, right? We can mutually learn. We can mutually talk to each other. We can mutually share ideas and ensure that at least the younger generation, which is, subsequently going to come and publish work, does a good work. For that, I think mentoring plays a very important role, right? As supervisors, we are co-creators, we are partners in the research journey of a scholar. It's not that I am a supervisor and the other person is a scholar. So we are partners in that particular process. So they need mentoring. We need to devote time to them. We need to read along with them. Then only these scholars will be able to come up with, really quality work. So I think I've already exceeded the time which was allotted to me. So thank you so much. And subsequently, when the panel is open for discussion, I can add more points. Thank you so much. Over to you, Dr. Vanessa.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Anil. Indeed, such valuable points have been added. I think it's a very enriching platform, especially the points that are recurring, like, for example, that gap between the industry and academia, which was mentioned by Nimit and also by Saurabh and now by you. But the three important points that I have tried to put it forward here just now is that it's important, just like you rightly mentioned, that we are partners, we are not competitors. That collaboration thing is really missing. And the team spirit is missing, is lacking. That is the reason why sometimes you would see that many times when you read the research papers coming from other countries, you will always see the same name. For example, Cooper, Fletcher, One Hill, they have got so many together. So what happens, you can see that there is a kind of collaboration, teamwork going on. Whereas in India, it's a bit missing. Just like you were saying, I think that is really very true. If the researchers start thinking from a team point of view, that we are not competitors, we are partners, they can go very far. And also there is another thing that you also highlighted, which is really very interesting, that funding and research part, as we say that there is a trust deficiency between academy and industry, and it is up to the academician, the researcher, to convince the industry that we are credible, we will be able to come up with something. You have got a gap, we are here to propose the solution to you. And as you also mentioned, collective responsibility, it's really very important. People, when they are producing their academic work or even the research work, they have to make sure that from an international point of view, when they are proposing something as an Indian, it's the whole Indian community. So they have to make sure that it's decent quality work, not falsifying data, because sometimes you have plagiarism. We have got so many things which happens. And then just like you say, the whole Indian community is being blacklisted. And I think, yeah, these are the main points that have been highlighted by Dr. Anil Gupta. But because we are also getting out of time, is getting out of our hand, I would like to invite Dr. Tony Thomas. Probably, I'm sure that he has got something to say above all these points. So let me give the platform to him now.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Mahinder. Dr. Vanessa and fellow panelists, and I was listening on various points you have raised, and especially if you are addressing most of this, definitely we will have a possibility to improve our publications, to increase our publications capability in India. So I have 2 slides to present. So I hope that I can finish within 7 minutes. I hope you can hear me, right?
Yes,
Yes.
we can see the
Yeah.
PPT.
All right. Okay. So my discussion is mainly on my experience. So it is mainly on insiders as well as outsiders perspective, because I have studied in India, and but mainly my career was established in a foreign country. So almost 16 years I was abroad, and I am back to India, so I can view that what is happening in other countries, and at the same time what is the merits of research in India, especially in the context of tourism, leisure, and hospitality. The question is that on the discussion of tourism and hospitality research in the perspective of global space, I think the main questions based on the narratives are that what is the reason we don't have a lot of research, especially in hospitality, tourism, and leisure? And one main point to address here before I start my presentation is that India is one country in the world with the largest pool of qualified tourism researchers. I'm saying that qualified tourism researchers. However, we are unable to establish ourselves in the global databases. I think this is the issue what I have seen from this topic. So I'm going to address this one. So let us have a look on that, this Imago country rank tourism, leisure, and hospitality in the world. So if you look on that, we can see that the position of India is very promising here. So looking on India in the world, in the context of tourism, leisure, and hospitality research, we are ranking 16 in the world context. If you look on here from the statistics 2017 to 2020, we are improving. Definitely we are improving in terms of our rank, in terms of our production. That is truly reflecting our contribution to the scientific or our scientific influence to the scholarly activities in the world. But on the right, you can see that our H-index. H-index is talking about the quality and quantity. But there is a mismatch on that. From 2017 to 2020, our H-index remained the same. That is 45. So let us come to the context of India in Asia. Our rank is actually in 2020 is 5th rank with a production of 200 researchers. However, this context as well, our H-index is 45. That means that there is a kind of difference between quality as well as quantity. So although we are in the top ranking, that is 16th ranking in the world, is not that bad. But looking on the large number of pool of researchers in this country, number of universities offering masters and PhD programs, it is not that promising. That is our productivity, that is our competency ratio is very poor, although we are ranking 16. We don't have any data to explain about how many number of active scholars and researchers in India in tourism, leisure, and hospitality, but I have simulated in my way and found that roughly we have around 3,440 active scholars in India. But it may not be the right figure, maybe slightly less than that, maybe put that 30% less than that. But this is comparatively largest number of pool of researchers in the world in tourism. So this is my premise of discussion, the context of India and our ranking, our competency ratio, as well as active researchers. And what is the reason? What is the reason we are still not visible in the international databases? I have 5 points to explain. The first three first. First one is, I feel that the philosophy of higher education and research is a question mark here. Professor Nimit rightly mentioned about the quality and culture. I have to emphasize here again that quality and culture. I feel that myself that in India, research is artificially integrated to the education system. If we have a natural integration, like some other countries, those who are ranking 1 and 2, the integration of research to their education system is very different. That the students from the graduation onwards, they are talking about high indexed publications. And research is an essential graduate requirement. Post-graduation or PhD programs, and they have to publish either in Scopus or SSA index journals in hospitality and tourism. And also in foreign countries or in some other countries or some other context, the classroom practices, that is teaching and learning, is little bit different from sometimes what we are doing. Of course, we have very good practices in many universities, but we have to generalize and find what is the reason that the research informed teaching and learning is very less emphasized in our country. That means that whatever we are producing the research, that have to be informed to the scholars for the learning. So that context need to be improved. And in fact, I would like to highlight some of the inconvenient truth as well. So what is the reason we don't have a lot of research in the internationally recognized databases? It may be because of research as a career progression, how this is framed in our country, research as a career progression. And so far, I believe that this is the measure of success from an assistant professor to an associate professor to a professor is actually time is the measure of success and not the quality productions. That we have to wait maybe 12 or 14 years to become an associate professor. The question is that, what is the reason for it? What is the true justification of that? I am young, my scholars are young. If they are actively involved in teaching, learning, innovation, transformative teaching and learning, at the same time producing a lot of research in globally recognized databases, it is stopping them. So literally that they need to produce only 0.5 research per year to become an associate professor after 12 years. So they need to just do the minimum. So the second point I need to highlight is that the higher education framework is native higher education framework. I think India is self-sufficient. I completely agree with that. It's a good thing that we have a native education framework that sometimes a little bit far away from the international education framework. An example of that, we have CARE ecosystem, CARE journals, CARE list of journals. It is having group 1 and group 2. And the question is that the group 1 is not at all recognized in any international databases. So to be an academic, to get to our promotions, when we have an opportunity that is low-hanging fruits, that is the group 1, the CARE. So that is what I'm saying, that this may be an inconvenient truth, that the people definitely will go to the low-hanging fruits because they need to be qualified, either 7 or 10 publications. That is most easily possible through CARE group 1 list of journals. They don't want to go to CARE 2 list, that is the internationally recognized databases. So I am not questioning about the competency of Indian scholars. I'm just saying that, when the CARE system comes in, ecosystem comes in, there are a lot of people are producing research in India in the group 2 listed journals, that is internationally recognized databases. That means that we have capability, but sometimes our higher education framework is limiting. So if we don't have CARE list 1, that is group 1, all this research definitely will go to CARE list 2, that is internationally recognized database, because we have proved that we are capable. And the third one I want to discuss is about international outlook in Indian social science research. As we all know that the predatory journalists in the world, India is still standing on the top for that. And many of our scholars are the victim of that as well, very unfortunately. So it is truly underestimating the scholars' capability. We have to have a framework to completely eradicate the system. Sometimes we are defaming ourselves. If you go to the social medias, we can see that a lot of pages are created within India saying that we help you to produce SSCI or Scopus indexed journals. We will write for you, we will edit for you. So I will show you some example at the end of my presentation today. So this is a kind of defaming. So whenever we go for some presentation, people sometimes ask that why it is happening in India. So we don't have an answer for that. So my fourth point to discuss here is inadequate multicultural immersion and scholarly engagement. So India is very competent. The number of PhDs and postgraduates, we have large numbers here. And because of several reasons, our peer learning is less emphasized. As we can see that if you go to some other universities and all, I'm not saying that the two same practices we should have it in our country. It is sometimes impossible, but what is the reason that we are unable to produce sometimes that the peer learning is not possible? So we have certain kind of inability to engage international scholars in our universities. and also to launch of global engagement scholars. So whenever there is a multicultural workforce comes in, we will be able to learn many things about how others are doing. So most of the time we know only what we are actually doing. So we are trying to correct in our system rather than looking on the other systems as well. So the fifth point, and that is the last point to highlight, is the poor stakeholder engagement. What is a poor stakeholder engagement to express here? I think Dr. Saurabh rightly mentioned on that. We don't have a proper academia industry collaborations framework. And the question is that, do the stakeholders, that is the industry stakeholders, are they willing to come to academic institutions to give their project to us to solve their problems? I had a conversation recently in a debate that it is very difficult. The reason is that they don't trust our system. Rather, they will be going to the consultants to solve their problem instead of coming to academic institution. In many places, in many cases, it is not like that. If government or private sectors, they have a critical problem in the industry, first they will come to the academic institutions to solve this problem. If we are unable to do it, then only they will go for the consultant, because the institutions prove that we are capable in doing that. If we are able to produce a lot like that, every consultancy become a research output. Because always any kind of consultancy research, they will always demand that this consultancy projects we are funding, you have to produce X number of PhD graduates. You have to publish X number of research in this kind of journals. So why this is not possible in our country? Perhaps it can be a reason for academia industry collaborations, or somewhere in the industry or somewhere in the academia, we are supposed to improve ourselves. And I'm coming to look on the opportunities that the top ranking countries in the Zimago journal ranking, these are the number of documents they have. US 1,752 documents. In UK, we have 1,226 documents, and in China, it is 967 documents. And in India, we have 200 documents in the Zimago list. That is making us number 16 in the world and number 5 in Asia as well. So we have an active pool of researchers. I have a simulated figure here to explain that what is possible for us. This is our opportunity, and no other countries in the world have this opportunity. Only India has. In India, so if you are looking on that, 50% of active pool produce one research per year. It is a 50% of active pool produce one research per year. It will be more than 1,500 research. That is very close to US. That is 1,752 documents. Just I'm talking about 50% of active pool produce one research per year. We will be number 2 in the world in the next year. That is my conclusion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony Thomas. This was indeed very, very, very insightful and interesting. Like a student, I was just writing down your points. But what I want to say, in the interest of time, I will not elaborate too much, because anyway, what I have been doing in the meantime while you were talking, I have tried to just summarize the points of Nimit, of Saurabh, of Anil, and yourself. So in three main section, like the major takeaway from this session, the context, the current issues, and the probable solution. So I have tried to combine all the points from all the contributors. So of course, Tony, you have mentioned about the active pool of researchers that we have in India. This is indeed very promising. You also show some statistics that we have potential in the country, but simply these people, they need proper guidance. And also you highlight that there is a kind of gap, or probably a deficiency in the higher education system. Research is artificially integrated in the system, and this is an issue which needs to be addressed. You also mentioned about victims of predatory journals. Peer learning is limited in India, poor stakeholders engagement, especially they go to consultants to solve their problems instead of getting to researchers. So After this session, the major takeaway, first we have to just go back a bit to the context very quickly, just like at the very beginning, Nimit has highlighted. So first thing first, it's largely unorganized, and people are not invested they are not interested to invest in research. And then there's an issue of destination leadership already at the very beginning. And then academic research is not able to contextualize and to relate to the industry. This is already a problem of the context. Now, based on that context problem, that contextual problem, we have issues. So the issues have been shared by all of you speakers. First, we see that there is a trust deficiency between academy and industry, and then that the research culture is absent. Lots of students, they get into PhD programs just to get the title of a doctor, and then tourism researchers remain in their silos. They are intimidated, they don't want to come out, they feel very they are not so sure about themselves. And then there is collective responsibility, which is really lacking. Submission of decent quality work. Some people are using falsifying data, plagiarism, we mentioned about it. And then there's a lack of global collaboration in terms of inside, for example, at a micro level in itself, the teamwork is lacking. Research is artificially integrated in the education system, as highlighted by Tony. And then tourism researchers remain in their silos. We have already said it. Oh, I have copied it again. So there is lack of access and awareness to quality publications. So good journals have expensive subscription. This is also an issue. There are some universities, they are not able to access those journals. And then victims of predatory journals, also this is another issue. Peer learning is limited. There is poor stakeholders engagement. And then the probable solution probably is we have to connect to the context, just like all the speakers have highlighted upon. Teamwork is important, collaboration is important, credibility is important, collective responsibility is important, linkage between industry and academia is absolutely important, and all the research has to be context embedded. And then at the end, training the researchers to be thinkers, not specialists. They have to be trained to become independent researcher. And for this to happen, there is a need to improve the education system and then to encourage industry-academia collaboration. So this is a bit about what the main takeaways of this session. So now I think we can open the platform to question and answers, if any. And I don't know if Dr. Mahendra is going to take the question and then, or I should take the question. Oh, I don't know. Dr. Mahendra, can you guide me on that? What should I do now?
I think, yeah, Vanessa, you can please carry on.
Yes. So where do I get the question? Are they writing on the chat box?
Chat box, yes.
Okay, so where is the chat box? I can't see the chat box. The chat box has disappeared. Oh, it's here. Yes. Oh, we have got questions. Oh my God, so many questions. Oh, syllabus. There's a question from Simran. My next question. Where is the first question then?
Yeah, can I do that otherwise?
Yeah, yes, please. I'm a bit lost. I don't know where is the first question.
Okay,
please.
okay.
Yeah.
We have a question from Ms. Shraddha Bhatt. Good evening, all. My queries are: what are the factors adds up to the value of the research paper, and how to make sure that the research paper will be worthwhile and useful in future? So I think the question is open to anyone or everyone.
I think Saurabh can answer this question.
Thank you, Anisha. Actually, the question is very open. So what are the factors that adds up the value to the research paper? Basically, if we are writing research paper, as other speakers has already pointed out, whatever research we are undertaking, that should be contemporary. And if that research is fulfilling the requirement of the industry, if it is like going with the existing trend, so actually that will naturally add value. Whenever we are planning something to undertake, whenever we are planning to do some kind of research, so we need to see what kind of existing researches are already there on that particular topic. And we used to try to make our work a bit different from the existing work. So that kind of differentiations would be there. If your work will be similar to others, then it will not be like visible to international audience. So try to make your work a bit different, try to make it a bit differentiated from the others, then I think it will be more valuable. And I think Dr. Anil will also add to whatever I have said. So since he has published a lot in quality kind of journals, so he will also add something. Dr. Anil, would you like to add something to that?
Yeah, I think Dr. Saurabh, you have touched upon, very important point, and rightly said, it's a very broad question, and probably it's very difficult to, give answer in short sentence. But as you rightly said, if the paper adds value to, what is already known, that one point can really help you to, differentiate from what is already been published in there. And second, you need to, as scholar, one has to build on the research competencies in terms of, how do you present your ideas? How do you present your ideas? So, Professor Nemeth can maybe add something to this.
Yeah, I mean, again, very generic question, but the key is that it should be of value to someone. So it has to be a value adding who is the potential audience. Does it benefit anyone? And that is precisely what I pointed out during my earlier comments, that we do research without having a consumer for that research. So either it's the destination or the industry or the public policy makers, there has to be some value for one of the important consumers. That is how I look at it. If you add, and then of course the rigors of research and the frameworks and all those things is fine. But for me, the starting point is what good question or what good gap does this research fill? And this has to be very, very clear, throughout the paper. People start with a paper, and by the time the paper is, complete, they lose direction, and we do not know what the paper is exactly saying. So this focus has to be retained throughout the work, throughout the research that is done. Create value for some important stakeholder. Often, if it's a call for a special issue or something, they already identify what exactly are they looking forward to. But please say that your added, the added value through your paper, addresses or answers someone's, is a solution to the challenge that someone faces. So that is, from my point of view, very, very important.
I normally, tell this to my scholars, why Sholay was a very super hit movie.
True.
Why, youngsters watch Money Heist. So if it's just like a beautiful story, which is, well scripted, well presented, the everything has to, it has to be a saleable story. So if you move like that, I think you'll be able to hit that.
Yeah, and also to add, just like Nimit is saying, you might be writing a very beautiful paper, beautiful English, beautiful pictures, but if you don't mention the contribution to the practitioners, to the academia, sometimes the paper might be rejected just because you have not been able to mention few lines, because a research paper should always be somewhere around 5,000, 6,000 words. You cannot write a book. A research paper, a research article is an extract of what you have done, like a major research project. You're going to just take out some important points and make it a kind of research article to make people read it. So if you don't mention these things, sometimes a good research work might be in practice a superb research work, but in terms of research article, it's nothing, because the authors failed to mention how this paper is contributing and to which audience. So this is very important. I don't know whether Tony has something to say on that. Or
I have just one word, because
Yeah.
it is clearly stated here. So what is my point on this? That look on when we publish, or we plan to publish, look on the high order thinking. That is the philosophical side of this paper. Especially we have to look on that. What is the ontological and epistemological and methodological perspective. That we are actually looking for something. We expect that there is knowledge exists, and we cannot see that now. So we are actually going to find it. It is actually kind of a new knowledge invention. So every scholars have to look on the philosophical side of that, the high order thinking. Definitely that worth somewhere. It can be in the industry or in the policy perspective or in academic perspective. So that's my point. Look on the philosophical perspective of this paper.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you all
Yeah.
for your answer. And we have a next question from Simran Kashyap. I'll cut short the question. Basically, she's asking the existing PhD admission process is basically based on the qualifying exams such as the university entrance or the UGC. So, in that regard, do you think that there should be any reform in the process of admitting the scholars? If yes, then what?
If I take that question,
Yes,
for
sir.
me, it works well. I don't say it's foolproof, but by and large, it's okay for me. My first preference is for a JRF. My means the universities. First preference is for JRF. The added reason is that JRFs are more stable than others because they get a steady fellowship. But by and large, it works well in our case. So that's our understanding, but probably other panelists might have a divergent view. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Can I just involve in answering
Please.
this question? Thank you, Prof. Nimit, for your views on that. I think I have seen, and I have looked on that, the questions sometimes comes through UGC net examinations and JRF qualifications. I think this system is existing in many, many years in India. So I think that we need a transformation on this. And what is my observation, it may be right or wrong, is the questions, the objective questions or something which comes in the UGC net JRF examinations. Mostly it is testing the knowledge. It is testing the knowledge to become a philosopher. So that means that the distance from testing from the knowledge to a philosopher, there is a huge gap. So we are testing knowledge to produce, create, or analyze something or apply something. So I think the methodology need to be reframed, in my view. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. We have our next question from Dr. Neeraj Gohel. The question is, what will be the scenario of research in new education policy of India? The question is open to all the panel members.
Except me.
Can
I
you-
don't have
Maybe.
I think this
much-
question is,
I don't have
beyond
much knowledge
what we are
on that.
discussing right now. Probably it's again, we'll be shifting our discussion to some other direction.
Yes. Then we'll take next question, sir. We have a question from Dr. M.K. Ganesh. How we can encourage especially hotel management staff to do research in their respective fields?
But why do you want the hotel management staff to do research in the first place? That's my counter question. Leave
Yeah,
research to
basically.
researchers.
Yeah, maybe is asking from the researcher perspective, the hotel management researchers basically, I think. The existing system, particularly whatever NCHMCT or the hotel management faculty, they are not more focused to the research. In that context, I think the question is how can
Okay,
it
so if I try to answer that, one, hotel management education in the formal setup structure is a late beginner in India. With NCHMCT and IHMs in place, this was more a clinical, discipline with very little emphasis. So that has persisted and continued until now. It is only recent, last 10 years, that hotel management has shifted and is successfully shifted to universities. And within the cultural setup and ecosystem of the universities, it has now begun to prosper. We have Saurav with us, who comes from a hospitality management background, and I know a couple of other colleagues who are from hospitality management background, but come from university background. So unfortunately, IHM system or the NCHMC system is very, very clinical. They, it's a different ball game altogether. So for them, research is not all that important. It's undergraduate education, it's more vocational, more clinical. So I think hospitality research in the ambit or under the auspices of universities will grow, and probably sort of will add to it. Sort of.
Thank you, sir. Actually, there are two things in this particular questions. Like, I think Dr. Ganesh is trying to inquire about the hotel staff, like who are working in the hotel, how they can be motivated to undertake the research. Actually, research is usually undertaken by the persons like for certain objectives. As a researcher, we used to undertake research in order to get certain achievement, to get something after the completion of our research. So in order to make them to undertake research, they need to know the basics of research. So usually during the Hotelian programs, that kind of competency is not given to the individuals when they are usually doing the bachelor's degree in hotel management. So in order to have their like in order to groom themselves in the area of research, I think either they should be given some kind of exposure to the research techniques, research methodology, then only they will be able to do that. And as Professor Nimit has rightly pointed out, the atmosphere, the kind of setup of IHM, it is quite different from the university setup. They are not giving the if we are thinking about the hotel men, people who are working in the IHM, so they are not motivated for doing the research, because we used to do research to get some kind of benefits after the completion of our research. If we are not having any benefits, so people are not motivated to undertake the research. So that kind of atmosphere is not there in the IHM. So IHMs, the people who are doing research, they are not getting any benefit. So that is the that is a harsh fact that is happening in the IHM. So that's why I don't know whether I'm able to respond the query of the Dr. Ganesh. So this is my view on this particular query.
Okay.
I will like to add a few points here, right? One thing that we really need to understand is any student joining an undergrad program or a PG program is basically we are training them to join the industry, right? I think only less than probably 5% of them would really be inclined towards research. So many a times, I also see that we start expecting them to, do research at undergrad level or a PG level, which probably from teachers' perspective also is also not right. And here I would like to, link something to the previous question, which was asked about the new education policy, since I'm also associated over there. The policy actually, provides that impetus that research acumen at the undergrad level has to be built upon. Then only those who really are keen, to take it forward will ultimately enter into the research. So the point remains the same, that let us not just make PhD just another degree, not just like an undergrad degree or a PG degree. So I remember, when I started my academic career, I came across a professor from Stanford who was of Indian origin, and I asked him that, so what difference do you see in Indian researcher and research happening in or teaching happening in US? And his answer was very simple. And, I still remember that even after 18 years, he said, see, Anil, in US, outstanding people enter into research and teaching. And in India, outstanding people enter into research and teaching. So, or kuch nahi mil raha, after PG, you don't want to do anything, let me join a PhD program. So this kind of practice should end, right? I see a lot of students, would go for a PhD program because they need a room in a hostel. And they will also be entertained by a lot of universities. So we can just imagine what will be the end output and what kind of contributions will go there. So somewhere at the senior level, this has to stop. It should not be, PhD is not for everyone. One has to be, very, very careful in that particular sense. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next question from Sahil Sharma to all the panelists. The perspectives on what research agendas should be followed in future tourism research of India. How we Indian could unite in research and come in front of world in unity. Yeah.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, please, sir.
Okay. So I was expecting something like this. So I just did just a short bibliometric analysis of what is being researched in India. So the 10 top keywords that came in. So 10 top keywords and what is going up, what is maintaining a balance, and what is going down. So obviously tourism and India are two top keywords, but tourism is going down and India is just maintaining an equilibrium. What is going up is models, impacts, attitudes. What is maintaining a balance, as I said, India, management, perceptions. And what was being researched and which is like falling out of favor is besides tourism per se, is satisfaction, conservation, and politics. I don't know the reason, but this is what the data suggests. Right.
Yeah, any other panel member would like to take the question?
So can I talk
Yes.
something on that? So it is I think the question is on the future tourism research of India, right? Is it the question?
Yes, sir. And
It is the trends. What are the trends? And maybe the trend is projected to the future. So you can always, Tony, talk about the future trends.
All right. I think if you look on that, India has a lot of topic of research. If from the consumer, from the destination, from the industry, and to the different kind of resources and products, India is very different. The tourism model of India is very different. So the trends, I think, currently moving with COVID-19 related transformation of tourism. So my answer for this one is anything that worth for the future is a research for India. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think I'll take last question. So how can we have more participation in research, especially from the perspective of hospitality research? Perspective industry inputs when it comes to the hospitality. Sorry, can I read it once again, because there was the question is, how can we have more participation in research, especially from the perspective of industry inputs when it comes to hospitality?
I think in simple words, as I said earlier, we need to build that trust among the industry people, right? That is very important. If they start believing in us that we have, we have that acumen to find solutions to their problems. After all, the managers over there, the industry people are also looking for solutions. And once that trust factor is built, right, you will find that there will be higher participation and better, industry academia collaboration.
Precisely the same. Industry must believe that we can contribute, and for industry to believe that we can contribute, we should actually be contributing. As simple as that. So relate to what is being done in industry and try to convince. These baby steps perhaps would boost their confidence or add to their confidence in academia, and that is how it works.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I think we'll end the session because we have already exceeded the time. I know there are several questions that need to be answered. I'll take all those questions and I'll forward to the speakers. Probably whenever they have time, they'll respond accordingly. We'll post to these answers. I now request Mr. Suneet to propose vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. It has been such an honor to listen to all the esteemed speakers. On behalf of NITHM, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the panel members, Professor Nimit Chowdhury, Dr. Anil Gupta, Dr. Saurabh Kumar Dixit, Dr. Toniki Tamas, and thank you very much, Dr. Vanessa, for moderating the session. I would also extend my sincere gratitude to our director, Dr. Chinnam Reddy Garu, and our partner universities for taking part in this grand event. We also thank each and every audience present here for making the time to be with us today. I personally feel today's discussion will definitely inspire and motivate the young researchers and academics to produce quality research and lead the Indian tourism research community and the academia. Thank you, one and all, and we'll be closing the session now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank
you
you
so
all
much.
for your time and
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh.